Hello everybody and welcome to Startupbootcamp, where we are going to interview Chris Yerbey, who's one of our first founders that I ever met from our first cohort, and the CEO of a company called Scrap Connection in those days, and nowadays the same company, still there, 7.5, almost 8 years later, but now called Tradefox. Chris, welcome.
Thank you.
How has Scrap Connection turned into Tradefox? What happened over all those years?
Yeah, well, actually, it is for now. We're still operating as Scrap Connection Incorporated, a company name, but we needed a name for our brand that would allow us to expand into other verticals. Yeah. When we started the company, we were focused on solving problems in the recycling industry, and of course, we're still focused on those problems. But as we got into this 2 or 3 years in, we started seeing applications to this technology in other verticals completely unrelated to scrap, like agricultural products, also just all raw materials that are traded around the world. So we decided we needed a name that we could grow. And so we wanted to future-proof the brand, basically. Yeah. So that's when we came up with the name Tradefox.
So tell us about your product. What is unique about it?
So what we provide is a trade reputation report, basically, for companies that deal in recyclables. So you can kind of think of it like a credit report. So it's kind of the same template. In fact, we use a lot of the same data that you would find in a credit report, but we look at that data under a different lens. And we're trying to determine the likelihood that that trading partner is going to be a reliable trading partner, that the company is going to behave correctly when they trade, that they're trustworthy. So it's a 4 or 5 page report, kind of like a credit report. It has this firmographic data, also financial data, but more importantly, it focuses on the import-export data as well that we obtain from our shipping partners and customs agencies around the world. And then we leverage our 3,000 strong member network from Scrap Connection days to obtain feedback from companies around the world.
Yeah, because I remember that you did something similar when the company first started, but it looked much more like a marketplace.
Exactly. It totally was a marketplace from the beginning. Yeah. There's a lot of lessons we've learned along the way, but a marketplace is inherently difficult to get it going, basically, right? And in our case, transaction sizes are $250,000. So if you want to run a few transactions through and build up the reputation information from that side, it's almost an impossible task. So that's why we ended up moving towards a business intelligence product, because essentially we missed the reputation information. But without the marketplace, we now have a product that can be used by companies that are trading in marketplaces, which could be competitors of ours from the past, or also just in their own channels, email, phone, whatever. And when precisely did you decide to really switch to BI, to business intelligence? We made the decision 3 years ago, and we had we thought about it for about 2 months and strategized about a change in our direction. But the crucial moment was the crowdfunding raise that we did in 2017. Mm-hmm. I mean, we raised money specifically for that new product to become this new thing. And now it is your plan to raise another $1 million. Absolutely. Huh? Yeah. Is this something you would advise other European startups as well to fund themselves this way? Yeah, definitely. Actually, my opinion, I think crowdfunding is one of the best innovations that we've had in the startup world. And I don't even think it gets enough credit. I mean, for the first time, you have a lot of average investors that formerly were forbidden to invest in high risk, high reward type investments. They're now able to put money into companies like ours. And for an innovation company like ours, it opens up the floodgates for capital to take the vision and create the end product, to build a company. So I think it's a great thing, and I think also European startups can benefit from it just like we did. And now you got something like 1,600 investors. Yeah, exactly. How do you manage 1,600 investors? That's not difficult. We do keep track of them. So we put out press releases and updates by email. We also have a private Facebook group, which we use to kind of bring the people that are extra interested into one forum. And we like to leverage that as well, right? So we're 1,600 people strong, right? So when we get stuck with some type of issue or need a connection, we go to that network. So then we tap that network and get value out of it. And nowadays, I think a lot has changed since we had the pleasure of accelerating your company. Over the years, sustainability has become more and more important. Indeed. Taking care literally of the environment. What kind of role does Tradefox play there? Yeah, that's, well, we have an eco story. We don't actually speak about it often enough, I would say, but it's one of our huge motivators at our company. So basically what we do at scale is we increase the efficiency of the supply chain. So we did an analysis a while back. We can measure that to the tune of 10 to 12% savings across the entire supply chain for recycling. And when companies are earning like 1 to 3%, for example. So that's quite a big number. Mm-hmm. And what ends up happening with that savings, it gets pushed to the processing, recovery, and sorting side of the supply chain, to the upstream, basically, right? Yeah. And this is exactly the side that needs the money, right? Because you've even heard stories right now in the news where plastic, which was formerly going to China, is now being diverted to landfills. It comes down essentially to making it needs to be affordable and make economic sense. Our technology increases the supply chain efficiency so much that we think in the future we'll be able to measure our success in millions of tons of recyclables diverted from the waste stream. And how that impacts the environment, very specifically, landfilling is a very old, archaic process that needs to go away. But landfills emit methane gas. Mm-hmm. It's 30 times more damaging than CO2. Mm-hmm. So if we can divert tonnage from landfills, we can make a massive difference, even in the next 10 years, to the environment. So that's quite exciting for us.
Right. So now Tradefox is a business intelligence company, a BI company, which basically means that if you use the product, that you reduce risks. That must be interesting for the insurance industry as well.
Sure, absolutely. In fact, we're working on a couple of partnerships right now. We're talking to 2 of the top 3 commercial credit insurance companies. And that's like actually the thing that we're working on right now. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to align with insurance companies because we provide the information that they need to assess risk that formerly they couldn't assess. Yeah. They use credit reports, for example, to assess the creditworthiness of companies, and therefore they can ensure the payment of goods when they're shipped overseas. That's no problem. That's done all the time. But what they're missing is the information on how companies behave when they're transacting business and how good they are at solving the problems that come up when you're trading materials across international borders. We provide that information, so that's quite exciting because actually the friction that's caused in the marketplace or in the supply chain nowadays comes down to more or less uninsurable losses, and they're substantial. Yeah. So if we can, we want to sell the data to insurance companies to allow them to offer more cover for these other problems that exist in the industry, and ultimately the goal is that you should be able to point, click, and ship scrap without having to know the person on the other end of the transaction. Right. So that's kind of the end game for us.
Does that mean that you're slowly moving into the fintech world?
Yep. Yeah, for sure. This is where it's going, right? So yeah, totally. We never saw this in the beginning, but this is where it's going. I mean, we always knew the end game here was going to be to create a very, like a frictionless supply chain, a way to trade that's super simple and with very low risk. And as you start to move into that sector, it opens up all kinds of other possibilities in the fintech space as well. So
all the best, accelerating Tradefox even further. And you guys, thank you very much for watching this interview with Chris Yerbey, the CEO of Tradefox and a Startup Bootcamp alumnus. Thank you again.